Alright, 2 episodes in, and the pacing of the anime is still pretty good. So, this episode covers the next 4 to 5 chapters of the manhwa, so it's keeping a good pace with being 4 to 5 chapters adapted per episode, which is nice. For the most part, the message and pretty much the character personality stay intact, which is good. I like that we start off with a flashback between Rachel and Bond because it really does set the precedence and the theme for the rest of the episode. So Rachel tells Bomb the story of how the tower was created. So the tower's creator was slowly building each floor by each floor, and everyone laughed at him because, well, why are you even doing this? But he eventually was able to climb the tower to the top and then reach the stars, where he lived with the star forever. It makes sense why this is beautiful to Rachel because it likely inspired her dream to want to climb the tower and become a star herself. However, when Bomb kind of calls her out on this and asks, hey, well, isn't it kind of lonely to be up there by yourself? It emotionally hurts Rachel, I think. And the anime does a good job with this because it shows the whole ominous shift in the tone. And Rachel kind of backtracks and says, yeah, okay, I guess it does make sense. It would be nice if we could just be with each other. Yeah, so Rachel kind of maybe on the facade says, yeah, I think it would be better if people were together instead of being alone. That it's better to be together with someone else. Which is great because it directly contrasts her behaviors in season 1. And now we have a completely different shift here because Bomb is all by himself now taking the tests. In this next scene here, the anime did cut out a small scene where there's one more test taker that's coming in pleading for help, only to be denied by Wang Nan because he can't afford to be giving help to others because it is his last chance, his final chance to take the test. So, yeah, that's just one thing that the anime left out here, but I don't think it's the biggest deal. So, we get another cast of characters as well of test takers, and amongst them is the delivery kid that helped bring some ramen over to Wang Nan and then also had just a nice little pep talk with him. But the main characters now are Yihwa, the flamethrower girl, who's being accompanied by this kind of creepy guy named Prince, who's apparently the son of a big shot. Then there's also the lurker, the person who Wang Nan had borrowed money from and is trying to collect his money back. So he comes with several different hired people, so they're kind of like mercenaries because the prince is the son of a big shot, so he has a lot of money, and it's implied that he is able to use his money to convince and hire others to help him go up the tower. Yeah, and so we get on to the test. So we have our test proctor Love, and his design is really cool because he's a big fan of chicken, so fried chicken being a big trait of his character, and also the fact that just his overall character design is really cool. It just goes to show how unique and expressive a lot of characters are. So just goes to show the diversity of the tower. The test here is pretty much a strength test where you just have to hit a device and then you get assigned a power level. And the idea here is that we're going to use this test to choose 8 regulars that we're going to move along to the next test. And of course, with a lot of Tower of God tests, it's not always so surface level. But of course, there's more nuance to this test. A lot of layers to this. So unfortunately, Wang Nan gets 10th place initially, so he's basically out of the running because he's out of the top 8. I want to just take this moment to just go over the names of the characters because we do get character name reveals for the first time, at least canon wise. So, first place so far is Arc Raptor. So, he's the guy in the gray with the umbrella weapon as his powers. The guy who didn't get any chocolate. Miseng is the little girl who was giving chocolate out to everyone. Golseng is the round eye glasses girl. And then the big guy with the blue wing on his right side. Yeah, so his name is Huyang, and he gets the highest score so far. So he's definitely one of the top dogs. And he definitely seems like someone who's more reserved about his power because he also calls out Prince on his bad behavior and that the fact that Prince is bothering people. Yeah, and so next, now we have Yihua, the flamethrower girl from the Yeon family. So while she is clumsy and doesn't have full control over her powers, she does have a lot of latent potential, and that's clearly shown because even though she just stumbled and fumbled hitting the device, she's still able to get the top score by a long shot. And if we notice that her Japanese name is Ren, which I believe means lotus, which matches her name in Korean because Her Korean name, Yihwa, also means lotus. So this is another example where the Japanese dub is taking the Japanese translation of the Korean name. So while her Korean name is Yihwa, and that's what the subtitles are going to be calling her going forward, her Japanese name is going to be Ren. And there is more that meets the eye when it comes to Prince. So even though he seems like the boss's son who isn't too weak but has a lot of money, he does seem to have a lot of strength himself because even though Yihua takes the top spot currently, he's able to pretty much just overtake her immediately. And so there is definitely some strength to him. And so here we go. We get to the last contestant, which is this mysterious Bug Slayer nominee, who Arc Raptor hypes up to be clearly the strongest regular out of everyone here. So it goes to show how aware Arc Raptor is of power levels. Because while everyone else is busy trying to hype themselves up, they don't know the true strongest in the room. And this character, the Fog Slayer nominee, is Viole. Jue Viole Grace. One of my favorite names and aliases of all time. It's such a badass and clean name. So now we get to see one of the layers of this test. Because even though everyone thought that, oh, it's just the top 8 that pass, no, it's actually the top 1 that gets to choose the other 7 that they want to go with them. So that's the nuance here with this test. Is that everyone was under the impression that you just had to go off your pure strength and that you can only pass if you were strong. And so Wang Nan kind of sees this immediately because even though his personal strength wasn't enough, he sees this as an opportunity to get recruited by Viole. And so begs Viole to let him join, hyping himself up in the process. Which is a good discussion point here because Prince brings up the idea of pride and how much pride you're willing to throw away just to pass a test. So for Prince, the answer is likely yes, I would rather retake a test than to beg someone to help me pass. Which is funny because, supposedly he's been paying people to help him go up the floor. But then Wang Nan definitely casts his pride aside. Like, he doesn't care about his pride as much as just wanting to pass the test because of how desperate he is. So I find this a very cool trait because it goes to show that he's willing to just set himself aside if it means achieving his greater goals. I really like that Arc Raptor is the second person who does this, who begs Viole to help him pass. Because initially Arc Raptor seemed like someone who was very confident in his own strength, and so didn't feel like he needs to be passed. In fact, Arc Raptor is top 8. It just goes to show more of his own personality and his own character. Like the fact that he's just willing to beg immediately, even though it's likely that he should pass anyways. There are a lot of layers here because yeah, Arc Raptor also implies that Miseng is his daughter, which I mean likely she isn't, because Miseng wants to go see her mom and dad, and well, that's likely not Arc Raptor. But it does give another layer here that I like about Arc Raptor because if he implies that his daughter is someone like Miseng, then it kind of makes sense if we look at the previous episode where Arc Raptor decided to vote out Miseng from taking the test. It just kind of means that, well, Arc Raptor likely just didn't want her to get hurt. And so he was trying to vote her out as a safety precaution. Now, I don't think he's not exactly in the right for that, but it just goes to show that he likely has a soft side for children, that he doesn't want to see them get hurt, which is a cool layer to his character. So Horyang and Miseng are next to plead to Viole, which is cool because it's basically like, hey, it seems like the play here is to get Viole to join you, so just beg him because everyone else is doing it. I particularly want to talk about Yihwa and Viole here because while Yihwa doesn't exactly beg Viole to let her join, she's more like, hey, I'm very confident in my ability. I'm clearly very strong here, so it's clear that you should choose me. And I like the contrast here because if we just look at Viole and Yihwa so far, they have a nice contrast and difference with each other despite being strong themselves. It's something that Wang Nan calls out Yihwa on. Yihua failed a lot of the tests earlier because she has no control over her powers, despite being from one of the 10 great families. And yet Yihua is very outgoing and outspoken about her confidence in her own abilities. Now we have Viole, who's clearly very masterfully crafted and has full control over his own powers, and yet doesn't say anything about how strong he is. So it's a nice contrast between two of the strong characters in the show so far. And plus, we also have another fact where Yihua is from the 10 great families. Viole is a fog slayer, so he's an enemy of the 10 great families and Jahad. He lives to kill Jahad and the families, so that already puts a natural conflict between the two of them. because Fug goes against the very idea of the 10 great families. And now, when it comes to Violet's actual decision, it goes back to the Rachel and Bomb flashback at the beginning of the episode, because the whole point of that was saying, do you climb the tower? Is it fine to climb the tower by yourself, or is it fine to stay together with other people? Bomb's answer was, well, I would prefer to stay with other people. And yet Viole here doesn't choose anyone to be his teammates. He neglects to choose anyone because he doesn't find any of them to be worthy of going up with them. That his own strength is enough, which directly contrasts the thematic ideals of climbing the tower with other people and having strength in numbers with other people to climb the tower. So that's yet another layer of this test where Viole doesn't choose anyone. Okay, well, the test proctor, Love, he's like, no. You can't do this, man. You gotta choose. You gotta choose. So because Viole is so adamant about this, Love decides, well, hey, we'll play a game. We'll play another game, and then if you win, you can have it your way. If I win, you have to choose. And again, it just goes to show that there are a lot of cool nuances with the test in Tower of God, which I appreciate. The story also emphasizes Yihwa and Viole's relationship more because they also just pair them up in the same room together, despite Viole being a boy and Yihwa being a girl. So it's clear that the story wants to show Viole and Yihwa together and how their relationship goes out. And we go on to this next part of the test, this game between Love and Viole. So Viole also emphasizes the significance of Wang Nan's ring, and Wang Nan also gets very stressed out that he might have lost it, only for it to be returned by Viole. And there's a small difference with the manhwa here because when Viole and Yihwa are in the room, Viole already changes out of his clothing, his robe clothing, into his other clothing. Like he just takes off his shirt and stuff, just wears a regular shirt. So yeah, I just find it interesting how the small details in the clothing differences between the anime and the manhwa, and how they're going to continue with that going forward. Because, like in the intro, we do see Viole having different clothing, as well as the other members having different clothing. So I'm just curious when they decide to deviate from the manhwa. But anyways, yeah, that was a really fun episode. We've basically established all the names as well as more personality traits out of the current cast of characters. So the big players so far, right now, are Love, the test proctor, Viole, Jue Viole Grace himself, the Fug Slayer, Ja Wangnan, Arc Raptor, Horyang, Miseng, Goseng, Prince, and Yihwa. So these are the big players. We'll see how things go in the next episode. Yeah, appreciate the watch. Yeah, thank you for watching this video, and yeah, till next time, take care. See you in the next episode.